Hey guys, thanks for visiting Lapidary channel. My name's Faithy, my sister Emma, she's over there. I don't know, I don't like being on camera, so I'll make this quick. Well, today we're gonna do another rock video, as usual. That's all Mama's do. Half the time she leaves us off camera. So, I'm just a little camera shy, I apologize about that. Well, if you'd like to visit our website and buy some cool rocks, I'm sure I can get a couple new bucks. So, links in the description below. Thanks, guys. Here's the video.
Well, good evening, guys. Alright, so today's video is about common problems that you're going to have with your lapidary saw. Doesn't matter if your saw looks like this, or if your saw looks like that, or like that, or that, or that. Well, it does matter with that, or that. So this video primarily, these are the most common saws. You have the 12-inch and 14-inch, what they call it, the 14 Panther. A lot of people have Lorton LS10s or ST10s. ST10 was actually before that, back in the 60s. I could do a little video on that sometime. Or most commonly, people are buying the Highland Park HT10 series. So here are some of the common problems and how to fix them. We actually do lapidary equipment repair here as well. I definitely showed it in many of our videos. But if you have any problems that you can't fix and you need some help, you're welcome to send your saw in, get it fixed. We also do professional restoration work. You wouldn't know that by the look of our saws, but it kind of goes back to the mechanic. You know, he makes shiny cars, and, well, his car looks like that or that. All right, so anyways, some of the most common problems that we get people asking us about or common problems that we have in the shop. When you run a lot of saws and you're running them for a long time, it's only a matter of time before you're going to have an issue. So the first issue, and I would say this is what I get asked the most, is you'll be cutting along, your saw is going, and then all of a sudden it binds up and it's going, and that belt over there stops turning. You still have power on the saw, you're right in the middle of a rock, and it's not cutting through a rock. And you pull it out, and it looks like this. This actually just happened yesterday. So that can be several things. One, it could be, well, if it's binding up and the belt stops. Most common problem is it's going to be your blade needs to be sharpened. More than anything, hands down, I would say 99% of the time, it's going to be that. Now, most people have things like this. This is a so-called dressing block. In fact, I'll tell you what. We have a video that's coming out. It's actually going to come out at the same time as this video, or within a day, on how to sharpen a saw blade properly. And trust me, guys, it's not with this. It's not with using a carbide wheel or any of the other tricks. It's simple. It's a $5 fix that will last you a lifetime. So anyway, so if your saw stops and it binds up, and you hear that, ungodly type of hum, most likely what's happening is your blade is dull, so your carriage moves like this slowly through the rock, and as this carriage is moving, if this blade can't take away sufficient amount of rock, it's going to keep pushing it. This thing doesn't know, this little motor in here, it's not, it doesn't know, it just moves at whatever speed you tell it to. So it's going to keep moving along, and because your blade is dull, it can't remove enough material. It's simply going to bind up. And that's an easy fix. You just need to sharpen your blade. I've had customers actually that have sent saws into me because of that problem. And, they had no idea what was going on. They said their saw's acting all goofy. It's not working right. And they end up bringing their saws in, and it's literally about 15-minute fix. Secondly, is say you're cutting along and your blade, all of a sudden you're wondering, why isn't my saw shutting off? Well, but yet the motor keeps turning and turning and turning and turning. Well, that could be two things. One, that could be that you forgot to hook up your chain. I know this may seem like a stupid question, but I'll address it anyway. So you see the little rock in there, it's actually a piece of glass. in there. So what you're going to do to set your chain is once you get this in the vise, you know, it can be over a little bit. It doesn't matter. But once you get this in the vise, what you want to do is move it back about maybe a 1/4 inch past the rock. And then come over here and just simply set the length of your chain. So when it gets to that point, it'll shut off. That way, if your carriage isn't going all the way through, way past, where it needs to go, and your saw is just sitting idle, once it gets done cutting the rock. So that can be one problem. Second problem is what you want to do. Let me wipe my hands off here a little bit. I don't want to get oil all over the camera. What you can do is just pop this hood, and I'll look down in there at the little, you'll see a little nut I'm going to show you in a minute, and I'll see if that's spinning. If that's not spinning, shut your saw down. So in other words, you're going to look for that little nut right there. You'll see a little set screw on it. If that's not moving as your blade is still turning, what you want to do is you want to shut your saw down, disconnect all the power from your saw. Of course, don't do this while you're live because you're going to get electrocuted. Take out the 4 little nuts and bolts, 2 on each side. Pull this box out. Be careful because you have a gear motor in there and a bunch of switches and wires. So for the purpose of the video, I got one off when they were repaired on a customer's machine. So this is the little gear motor that's behind these. Now this is in the New Highland Parks have them in it, and all the old Lortons. If it is a box like this on the front of it, it's going to have a gear motor in it. Some of the bigger saws actually have a gear motor like this in the back of them. Some of them that look like that big saw that I showed you over there at Highland Park. So if it's for either or. But we're speaking right now for right here. So if this stops turning and yet your saw keeps running, what you want to do is you want to pop off this cover. When you pop off this cover, this little motor is going to be attached right here to where that threaded rod, where this threaded rod right here, that goes through the machine, and you'll see the gear motor kind of hanging on like this. What's a common problem, and it just happens, it happens maybe once every couple months, it happens to us, or it used to. Now we got smart, and we actually made a modification. We actually drilled the second hole and put a second set screw on it instead of just one, and we haven't had that problem yet. But what you want to do is you want to check your gear motor and see this little shaft collar right here. This is called a shaft collar. One end of this right here is going to fit on the motor, and it should be cranked down nice and tight. This other end is going to fit onto the end of that threaded rod that comes through. So usually 9 times out of 10, it's the one that fits on the threaded rod. It comes loose over time. One thing that you can do, and do it at your own risk, but where this threaded rod comes through, when you see it poking out, if you take a file a little tiny flat spot, on there, maybe 1/4 inch flat spot, on that threaded rod right at the end of it, and then when you put it in so the flat spot is going to be right here. So when you crank this guy down, it's going to crank down on that flat spot, and it's not going to allow it to turn and work its way loose as easy. Or if you have a good drill press or a milling machine, you can actually come in and you can drill another hole here, tap it, and put a set screw in it so you have 2 of them. That's what we end up doing, and we haven't had this problem before. We were dealing with this problem actually on a fairly regular basis. Now, mind you, we're cutting commercially. We're cutting a lot of slabs. So it's more likely to happen when you're using it, that much than, as a hobbyist. But nonetheless, it's a problem. It's a pain in the butt. So that's a common fix. If, hold on a second here. Okay. Another problem is, say you set your rock up in here, you tighten it down, you turn the saw on, and nothing's happening. You see the blade or the belt over there is turning. You look in here, you see that little shaft collar, it's turning, and you're like, what is going on? Well, what it could be is if your rock, when they design these saws, they have a little piece of wood or cork or sometimes even leather down on the bottom of these, and that's for two reasons. It's one, to grip around the rock, and it's also to lift this and make this where the bottom of the rock sits a little bit higher than this shelf over here. Why they didn't, I don't get this. Highland Park didn't even fix this problem. And they should have. It's not a hard problem to fix. This plate right here on the top of your carriage, if you look, they're actually even with this plate where your arbor is mounted on, where your slabs drop off into. If they made this a little bit lower, like Lortone did on those saws, the 12 and 14s, the Panthers, they put that table down, you would never have this problem, or very, very rarely. So this actually is a common problem with this style saw and these back here. And what'll happen is, say you chuck your rock up and your rock has kind of a curve where it's coming down. Well, you go and you tighten it down. Now your rock is hitting this plate right here. And, you know, your saw, if it has that much pressure on it, it's not going to be able to push it through, because as this little worm gear down here is turning, there we go, as this little worm gear is turning, if the saw, everything's still turning, so it's trying to push it forward. Well, if it can't push it forward because there's too much resistance, because you have your rock is hitting on here that's clamped into here, what you'll see it do is you'll see this little handle down here go, just like that. And if you listen when the saws run, you can often actually hear it. All you have to do, a quick fix for that, if I can get my tripod right, sorry about the crappy camera. All you have to do for that is get yourself another little piece of plywood, like a 1/4 inch thick piece of plywood. You can even have a like 1/4 inch like strips that are the length of the inside of here to here. Get ones that are like an 1/8 inch thick, 1/4 inch thick, 1/2 inch, or even 3/4 thick. And when you have a rock like that, that's doing that, figure out which thickness you want to put in, and set the rock, set it down in here. Or you can even have it, say you drilled the 2 holes, where you have 2 holes in here, and you can slide the whole thing on. You'd have to take this off though. That's why if you get them where they fit between them, you don't have to worry about taking everything apart. Not that it takes too long, but time is money. So you put your rock on top of that, it'll raise the base of your rock up just a little bit. So even if it's curving down like this, it won't hit this and drag. Now the only, how would you put it, paradox with that would be that the more that you raise this up in the air, well, guess what? Now the less room that you have between your vise for the size of your rock. That's the only, you know, trade-off that you're doing. But you know, most of the time you're not going to cut material on these anyways. You know, that's, you know, maxing out your vise. You may on it. So that's a very common fix. Well, I thank you guys for watching the Lapidary channel. I truly do. Stay tuned. We will be doing another video here. Actually, we're going to shoot it tonight, so we should post it either tomorrow or possibly tonight. So within 24 hours of this video, on the proper way of sharpening a saw blade for about $5. If you guys have any questions, comments, put them down below. And I thank you guys for watching the Lapidary channel. Feel free to check out our website. Like I said, we sell about 1,500 different types of rough and slabs, mostly old stock materials, as well as we do lapidary equipment repairs and restorations, and we sell old parts. So if any of that interests you, feel free to check out www.hilmersfineminerals.com, and link is in the description below to our website and Facebook page. Hey guys, thanks a lot. I truly hope this helped you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to PM me, let me know, and I'll do whatever I can to help you. Take care, guys. Have a good night.